Hey guys, welcome back. Today I thought it'd be kind of nice to round off such a damn good year on YouTube with a video ranking the Halo games in my personal order from best to worst, or least favourite to favourite, depends how you look at it. But before we start, today I have partnered with Amino to show you guys their Halo community. So Amino is basically a community app that powers more than 1 million different communities, at least one for every single interest humanly imaginable, including Halo. The app works kind of like Reddit, but with even more features that, in this case, are specifically tailored towards Halo, like public chats, official Halo news, fanfiction, and my favourite part, the quizzes. They are pretty addictive and they're good for testing your Halo knowledge that you learn from my videos, like this spicy Halo lore one, of which I am currently top of the leaderboard for, so download the app today on iOS or Android by following the links at the top of the description and tell Amino you were sent by the iconic one. And also, while you're at it, try and beat my score. So if my list is similar to yours, then drop a like down below and leave your rankings in the comments. So at number 10, I have Spartan Assault and Spartan Strike. Now I only really included these two because I knew I'd get a load of comments if I missed them off the list, so here they are. I don't really class them as full Halo games really, they're just like cool little mobile games that are good for passing the time. And they've got some pretty good soundtracks to boot, to be honest, but I can't really say they've made an impression on me. Spartan Strike did have a flood survival mode, which is pretty dope, but both the games had microtransactions, so yeah, let's leave that one there. At number 9, I have Halo 5. Now, Halo 5 is a weird one for me because I love the Forge. 343 did a damn fantastic job, not just building on existing Forge features, but actually innovating Forge and almost reworking it from the ground up to be more like an actual map editor. And the incredible stuff that's been built in it is a true testament to how damn good the mode actually is, and as a result, Halo 5's custom games are incredible too, made even better by the custom game server browser. But sadly, that's really all I like about Halo 5. The story was something we don't like to talk about anymore, and I really don't like enhanced mobility, so the gameplay and therefore the maps and the way the game plays are things that I'm just not a fan of either. I never thought I'd see the day where Halo has aiming down the sights and mantling, but here we are. It has my least favourite art style and the customization is just plain awful. Oh, and it has microtransactions. Granted, they're not that intrusive, but they're still there, so need I say more? All in all, Halo 5 isn't really what I expect from a Halo game. At number 8, I've got Halo 4. Now, the only thing saving Halo 4 from being number 9 in the spot is the story. And my god, was that story good. 343 did a fantastic job fleshing out the Didact, a character we've been teased about in the Halo 3 terminals, and then learnt more about in the Forerunner trilogy, and he felt so fitting as a villain. And seeing Cortana's downfall as well, and how Chief reacts to it, along with seeing Chief being replaced by new Spartans, was so well done, and overall I loved the story. The soundtrack, although not exactly the most Halo-sounding OST overall, really fit the narrative and the missions in my opinion. But sadly, the story and the OST are literally the only things about Halo 4 that I actually like. The gameplay is Reach's, but worse, the multiplayer had fucking custom classes, perks, and fucking kill streaks, which, just mentioning, makes me want to go throw up. It was very clearly trying to copy COD and be one of these COD clones, and in doing so, it desecrated Halo's multiplayer legacy, and as a result, almost destroyed the competitive community, which was really sad to watch back in the day as a long-time fan. The Forge was a backtrack from Reach, but I guess there were some decent custom games to come out of it. I'm also not particularly a fan of the art style either. At number 7, I've got Halo Wars 1. Now, I've been an RTS fan for almost as long as I've been a Halo fan. When I was growing up, whenever I wasn't playing Halo, I was playing Battle for Middle-earth, and as soon as I heard that Halo was getting an RTS, it was like my dreams were coming true. And the game didn't disappoint, it just wasn't all I was expecting coming from RTS games like Battle for Middle-earth and Rise of Nations on the PC. The population cap was tiny due to it being on console, meaning I couldn't create these massive UNSC or massive Covenant armies that I dreamed of. And at the same time, there was also no free building, but despite this, it was still pretty damn fun for what it was. The campaign was also a nice little sort of isolated fun Halo story with really damn good cutscenes, but didn't have all that much replayability, at least for me. Okay, so now we're getting to the Halo games that I love the most, and these are the ones that have really only one or two things wrong with them, if any at all. So let's kick off this section with number 6, Halo Wars 2. Now, Halo Wars 2 to me was an almost universal improvement over Halo Wars 1. From gameplay to the campaign to the soundtrack, I fucking loved it. Definitely the best Halo RTS experience out there. The addition of skill trees massively varied the gameplay, and the continued addition of new leaders constantly changed the meta and added a whole new playstyle every single month. The game also featured an amazing return to a more classic Halo art style, and even in some cases had designs that were direct improvements of existing designs from the old art style. The game released an expansion as well that didn't feel like a scam like most modern DLCs. It actually kind of felt like a revelation. Instead, it felt like a DLC of old, packed full of new, refreshing content, even bringing the damn Flood back, which instantly makes me love it. And the cutscenes that came with it were a perfect work of art. The only real downsides to this game for me were the very clearly ham-fisted microtransactions and the incredibly irritating cliffhanger at the end of the campaign that went on to remind us that Halo 5 existed by forcing a Guardian onto us. But other than that, I fucking loved Halo Wars 2, and honestly, it's my favourite Halo game in years. At number 5, we have Halo 3 ODST, and my god was this game refreshing. It was the first Halo to have a change of style, both in gameplay, story, and soundtrack. We were no longer invincible super soldiers, instead, more vulnerable troops with far more grounded characters, with linking relationships and preferences, and the story capitalised on this really damn well. For once, it wasn't a galactic scale story either. Instead, it was a more smaller scale, personal story, but at the same time, it still had massive ramifications. The film noir theme was beautifully crafted, and the new soundtrack fit it perfectly. Smooth jazz playing in the background while walking through abandoned Mombasa streets was so comfy. And then, of course, it gave us Firefight, which is now a fan-favourite game mode and offered God knows how many hours of fun thanks to its replayability. And then, the cherry on top, we could finally play as Sergeant Motherfucking Johnson. No longer did we have to share the stick. At number 4, I've got Halo Reach. Now, Reach is a game that I have a real love-hate relationship with. I fucking hate the fact that this game added sprint and started this really annoying trend where apparently every Halo game now has to have sprint because people supposedly can't live without it. I also hate the fact that it added armor abilities, which I guess were fun at times, but have really started this downward spiral into enhanced mobility. I also hated the fucking bloom, but thankfully 343 stepped in the last year and got rid of that. But then on the contrary, I loved the atmosphere and tone of the entire game. Everything gave you this feeling of impending doom and defeat. The soundtrack was hyper atmospheric, the art style was gritty, dirty, and almost industrial, and the story had you get to know your Spartan fire team, and then watch as they all got picked off, one by one, in a war that you knew from the get-go was a lost cause. And then, to top it all off, the cinematography in the cutscenes could win a damn Oscar, and it portrayed the game's atmosphere amazingly. In fitting with the art style, the customization was the best that Halo had ever had, and it really allowed you to design your Spartan or Elite to stand out from the crowd. At number 3, we have Halo Combat Evolved, the game that started it all and shaped the way that all modern FPS games are created. Halo CE was the first game that I ever truly fell in love with, and it was the first video game story that I ever got truly engrossed in, and I don't even want to think about how many times I replayed that campaign as a kid. Discovering the mysteries of Halo, the Covenant, and then eventually finding the Flood was one hell of a wild ride. And it's one that I'll never forget, especially because of that beautiful, iconic soundtrack tied to it that made me realise I could listen to video game music as regularly and as normally as I'd listen to Linkin Park. The multiplayer then added thousands of hours of fun, and is still arguably the most skillful Halo game to date, with an active competitive community that are still hosting tournaments today. Split-screen Halo CE multiplayer was a go-to at any sleepover or party you ever went to, and deservedly so. At number 2, we have Halo 3. Now, Halo 3 is so close to being number 1. To me, this game is damn near perfect. It rounded off the original trilogy's story in an awesome, satisfying, and truly badass way, with tons of memorable moments, offering near infinite replayability solo and with friends. The level design was top notch, and that iconic soundtrack just fit in perfectly. The multiplayer was bar none, with a fantastic ranking and leveling system, with a rewarding unlock system to boot, and enough armor pieces for each Spartan and Elite to feel truly unique. With Forge, custom games, file share, theatre, and Bungie favourites, no game has ever made the player feel more like a part of a tight-knit, friendly community, and I can't see any game ever doing so again. Halo 3 is a game that will go down in history as one of the industry's top creations, and I can only think of one game more deserving. Therefore, in the number 1 spot is Halo 2, a game that truly means the world to me. Halo 2 is the epitome of Halo, in my view. It's what every single Halo should aspire to be like. It has hands down the best story in the franchise, managing to tell 2 parallel stories on either side of the war, one about being a badass, and the other about betrayal. 2 entirely different themes, and yet the jump between the 2 seems seamless and natural. It shed an entirely new light on the Covenant and turned the war from what was previously a black and white situation into a big grey area, proving that not all of the enemy were pure evil and that some could indeed be redeemed. It's one of the few games that I've ever played that actually earned its cliffhanger, and yes, I know, I'm extremely edgy for saying that I like Halo 2's cliffhanger, but fuck it, it's badass and I love it. When it comes to the art and sound, Halo 2 fucking nails it. The art style nailed the Covenant species, it nailed the UNSC, and it nailed pretty much everything else, and then 343 came along and make 99% of the designs even better with Halo 2 Anniversary, and make the cutscenes look better than real life. I really can't state enough just how fucking good Halo 2 and Halo 2 Anniversary's art styles are, and how much both of them just nail the Halo aesthetic and how Halo should look. And then the music, oh my. Marty and Michael made a true work of art with Halo 2's soundtrack. Again, just like the story, there were low, more sad tracks, and then badass heavy metal tracks, featuring rock legends like Steve Vai and Breaking Benjamin, a band that I'm now a die-hard fan of purely because of Halo 2. And then we have the multiplayer, and to say that it sent shockwaves around the online gaming community is just a little bit of an understatement. It literally defined online gaming as we know it, and is almost single-handedly responsible for launching Xbox Live into the place that it is now. Where Combat Evolved launched the Xbox, Halo 2 launched Xbox Live. One of the best things about the multiplayer was the fact that it had a pretty low skill floor, but at the same time a massive skill ceiling, so it was pretty easy for a casual player to just pick up and play. But at the same time, it was extremely hard to master, and the rise of MLG and competitive Halo under Halo 2 is a true sentiment to this. So that's my list. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments, and if you have a list of your own that's different or, hell, maybe even identical to mine, leave it in the comments and let's get a discussion going about it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.